Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the new session of Biology Standard 11th, Chapter 5, Cell Structure and Organization. In the last video lecture, we started the topic with introduction, then we studied definition of cell, shape of cell, size of cells, then we studied about microscope, and then we studied about cell theory. In today's lecture, we'll start with modern cell theory. As we already know that the cell theory was given by two scientists, they were Schwann and Schleiden. Then later on, number of investigations, or you can say number of studies, were going on cytology, and it led to formation of new type of cell theory, which is considered as modern cell theory. According to this theory, there are certain points which has to be remembered. Like, this theory says that all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. That means either unicellular or multicellular. Living cells arise from pre-existing cells. A cell is the structural and functional unit of life, or you can say the basic unit of life. Total activities of cells are responsible for activity of an organism. Cells show transformation of energy, and cells contain nucleic acids. If I say the word nucleic acids, that means it contains DNA and RNA. And we know that DNA is present in nucleus, whereas RNA is present in cytoplasm. So this was about the modern cell theory. Now let's see the details of totipotency. What is totipotency? Actually, it is the ability, or you can say the potential of any living or nucleated cell to differentiate and divide to form any other type of cell, or you can say a complete new organism. That means a nucleated cell can divide and redivide to form any other type of cell or a complete new organism. A cell is totipotent because it has the entire genetic information of the organism in its nucleus. Now, if we see the embryonic animal cells, you will find embryonic animal cells are totipotent, and they are termed as stem cells. These stem cells have great medical applications, including cure for diseases. As I told, the stem cell is totipotent. That means it has ability to divide and redivide to form any other type of cell, or you can say a complete new organism. That's why it has great medical applications. Now, coming towards kinds of cells. Living organisms are grouped into two main categories. They are prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Now, let's see the details of these two. We'll study it in the form of differentiation, or we'll compare both of these cells, so it will become easier for you to remember it. So, in a prokaryotic cell, you will find they have simple cellular organization, whereas eukaryotic cells have high degree of organization. Now, if I say they are simple or they have high degree, that means prokaryotic cells are unicellular, that means simple, and eukaryotes, it may be unicellular or multicellular, that means they are both unicellular and multicellular. Then if we see the cell size, In prokaryotes, the cell size ranges from 0.2 micrometer to 2 micrometer in diameter, whereas in eukaryotes, you will find the cell size ranges from 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer in diameter. Then, talking about prokaryotes, they do not have a well defined nucleus, or you can say prominent nucleus is absent. Whereas in eukaryotes, you will find they will have a well defined nucleus, that means a prominent nucleus is present. Uh, if I say a prominent nucleus is not present, that means prokaryotes, in them you will find nuclear membrane is absent. Whereas in eukaryotes, you will find a definite nuclear membrane is present. Then talking about cell wall, in prokaryotes, cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan and a murine. Whereas in eukaryotes, the cell wall is made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, etc., many other materials. Then talking about cilia or flagella, you will find in prokaryotes they are smaller in size, whereas in eukaryotes, cilia or flagella, they are larger in size. Now talking about DNA, you will find circular DNA is present in prokaryotes, whereas a linear DNA is present in eukaryotes. That means in prokaryotes, whatever DNA is present, that does not contain histone proteins here. And in eukaryotes, DNA contains histone proteins. Then coming towards extra chromosomal DNA, that is plasmid. In prokaryotes, plasmids are present, whereas in eukaryotes, plasmids are absent. Then in prokaryotes, you will find membrane-bound cell organelles are absent. What are membrane-bound cell organelles? The examples are like mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, etc. These are all membrane-bound or cell organelles. They are absent in prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, you will find membrane-bound cell organelles are present. Then in prokaryotes, cell division occurs through binary fission. That means a single cell divides into two halves. Then here in eukaryotes, you will find the cell division occurs through mitosis. Mitosis, that is equational division. Then in prokaryotes, reproduction takes place through asexual means. That means asexual reproduction can be seen in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes you will find both sexual as well as asexual reproduction occurs. Best example for prokaryotes is bacteria. For eukaryotes, examples are plant and animal cells. So we have studied the two different types of cells, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. So it will become easier to understand it in this way. Now coming towards the next part, that is a prokaryotic cell. Now we have to study the detail of a prokaryotic cell. Now the cell in prokaryotes or you can say prokaryotic cell shows certain main features. So we have to study all these features sequentially. Let's see the first one, that is cell envelope. It has a chemically complex protective cell envelope. It is a three-layered structure with outer portion called as glycocalyx, the middle is called cell wall, and the inner one is plasma membrane. So let's see the first one, that is the outermost layer, which is glycocalyx. Now this glycocalyx is present as either slime layer, that is loose sheath, or capsule, that is tough sheath. So here you can see a capsule is present in the outermost layer. Bacteria are better observed when they are stained. Now the most followed staining method for which a bacteria can be seen is gram staining. And this stain was developed by a Danish bacteriologist named Hans Christian Gram. Now second layer, that is the middle layer, is cell wall. It is made up of peptidoglycan if the bacteria is gram positive bacteria, and it is made up of murine if the bacteria is gram negative bacteria. Now what is gram positive and gram negative? If I say gram positive bacteria, that means those bacteria which get stained by using gram stain are considered as gram positive bacteria, and those which does not stain by gram staining are considered as gram negative bacteria. So if it is positive, then it will be having cell wall made up of peptidoglycan, and if it is negative, the cell wall is made up of murine. What is the main function here is that it gives mechanical strength to the cell. And third layer, that is the innermost layer, that is cell membrane, or you can say plasma membrane. It is nothing but it is a phospholipid bilayer. Now function of this cell envelope: first function is it gives protection to the cell because it is the outermost covering, and secondly it helps in intercellular transport. Now second part is surface projections. In motile bacteria, either cilia or flagella are found as surface projections. Both are driven by rotatory movement that is produced by basal body, which works as motor. So it helps in movement. Other parts are filament and hook. Some other surface projections are like tubular pili and fimbri. And main function of these surface projections, first one is that cilia or flagella, if it is, it helps in movement. It is pili, then it helps in intercellular communication. If it's fimbri, then it helps in clinging to support. Third part is mesosomes. The cell membrane shows infoldings. These infoldings are called mesosomes, and main functions here you will find these mesosomes helps in cell wall formation, and they also help in DNA replication. Then next we have chromatophores. Some bacteria, especially photosynthetic cyanobacteria, shows a more longer extensions. They are called chromatophores. They carry photosynthetic pigments. So you will know now what is the function. The function is that it helps in photosynthesis. The next one is ribosomes. The cytoplasm contains dense particles. These dense particles are called ribosomes. Ribosomes are described by their sedimentation rate in Swedberg units. That is, we write it in capital S. Like bacterial ribosomes are 70S, composed of a larger subunit, that is 50S, plus smaller subunit, that is 30S. That means the bacterial ribosomes are 70S, but it is composed into two different forms. One is 50S plus 30S. Okay. One is larger and the other one is smaller subunit. And coming towards the function of ribosome, then we all know that it helps in protein synthesis. The next part is your genetic material. Genetic material in bacterium is a single chromosome made up of circular and coiled DNA. It remains attached to mesosome. This DNA undergoes a very typical replication pattern, which is called as theta model of replication. The DNA is not associated with histone protein. I already told you that DNA does not contain histone proteins. So here the function for genetic material is that it helps in replication. Next part we have is plasmids. That is your extra chromosomal DNA. Now, many bacteria shows plasmids, which are smaller circular DNA molecules, and they are termed as extra chromosomal self-replicating DNA molecules. They are of two basic types. One is F plasmid and other one is P plasmid. Now, functions they have is if it is F plasmid, then it helps in reproduction. Secondly, I told you it is of P type of plasmid. So, P plasmid actually helps in antibiotic resistance. That means it gives resistance against antibiotics. Main use of these plasmids are in biotechnology. Then next part is your cytoplasm, which is the last part. It is the pool of all necessary materials, like you will find water, enzymes, elements, amino acids, etc., are present in cytoplasm. But here, cytoplasm lacks membrane bound cell and organelles, as I told you, like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, etc. These all are membrane bound cell organelles which are absent in the cytoplasm. And these cytoplasm also contain some inclusion bodies in the form of organic and inorganic granules. That means if they are organic granules, it will contain starch and glycogen. And if they are inorganic granules, then it will contain phosphate and sulfate. And a main function of cytoplasm is that it helps to perform cellular activities. All the cellular activities are done with the help of cytoplasm. So we have completed with the detail of prokaryotic cell. Let's see a quick summary what we studied today. Today we started with modern cell theory. Then we studied about totipotency. Then kinds of cells, in that we studied about two different types of cells, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cells, and we studied it in detail in the form of differentiation. Then we studied the detail of prokaryotic cells. So let's stop here. I hope you understood the topic. We'll continue again in the next video lecture. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Thank you.